Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios Brisbane on 102.1 FM and broadcast across Australia on the Community Radio Network.
You're listening to Zed Games. With 10 years experience and over 500 episodes, Zed Games brings you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture. Want to reach out? Message us on Facebook at Zed Games AU.
My name is Evie, and I'm hanging out in studio today with myself yet again. Yes, I can see Billy from the amplifier before me, also looking at me with those eyes of, yep, the lonesome life, the lonesome radio announcer life. Well, Zed Games bringing you the best in gaming news, reviews, community and culture, just like that intro, right? Yeah, that's what I'm going to be trying to bring to you today. Plenty of news and some reviews. I don't know if I intended that to rhyme, but it rhymed, and it worked, so let's just go with it. Okay, cool. So, first up, today, we're going to be listening to some news, the week in gaming news. It's been very interesting. Gaming is like the new revolution, even though it's been there the whole time, so there's a lot to report on that. After that, we will have a review. More like a review discussion, really, from Rani and I. Earlier this week, we both caught up via Discord, and we chatted about a game called Planet Zoo. So we'll be playing a discussion from earlier this week of Rani and I hanging out talking about that. Afterwards, there will be, at some point, a very interesting review from Millie. We haven't heard from Millie in a while. It's all been very crazy out there, and it's those strange times. But she's managed to play something interesting, and in typical Millie fashion, it's something spooky and something creepy. We're going to be hearing from Millie on a little indie game called Siren Head, so I'll wait until then to talk more about that. But first up, before we get into anything else, let's get into some of the most exciting stuff, which is the news. This week in gaming news, the month of March was the largest gaming boom in almost 10 years. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, video game sales have skyrocketed. The US NPD Group, which analyzes industry data, has recorded over $1.6 billion for the month of March. That is the highest reported figure since 2008. Data collected from GSD, another company that analyses data, collects information from game companies in many countries, including Australia, and showed that 4.3 million games were sold between March 16th and March 22nd. Australian physical game sales also soared, with over 275% increase during that same time period. That was also when Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons was released. Typically, this time of year can be a dry period for the industry, so to jump to such record highs is hugely impressive. Bethesda say it will be years before The Elder Scrolls 6 will release more details. The Elder Scrolls 6 was announced at E3 in 2018, and there wasn't much information given at the event. Even though there wasn't much to go off of, the hype is still very real for fans, who are overjoyed by the announcement. At PAX East in 2019, the executive producer Todd Howard said that The Elder Scrolls 6 was a very long way off, and just recently Pete Hines from Marketing and Communications for Bethesda said it doesn't matter how many times you ask, the answer is still the same. So it's looking like there won't be any Elder Scrolls surprises anytime soon. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going door-to-door, but not in the way you might think. American politician Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was meeting people by island dropping in Animal Crossing New Horizons. She tweeted on the 8th of May that she would like to visit random people's islands and to leave a note on the bulletin board with their dodo codes. Cortez then proceeded to share her interactions on Twitter, and by the end she even attended an Animal Crossing graduation ceremony. If you would like to have a look, check out her Twitter page at AOC.
A Cyberpunk 2077 fan film by Phoenix Program teaser trailer has been released. Directed by V. Dan Tran, who is a member of the Jackie Chan stunt team, and featuring big-named cosplayers like Maul Cosplay, Stylu's Cosplay, and Kamiko Cosplay. The teaser only runs for 1 minute and 15 seconds, however it's totally action-packed and people are even suggesting it might as well be promotion for the actual game. If you'd like to have a watch, head to the Zed Games Facebook page at Zed Games AU. That's all this week in gaming news.
Wow, interesting week in news. I mean, come on, some of the most exciting things there is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Her name, it's just so nice to say. Animal Crossing. Who would think that an American politician would be going door knocking in Animal Crossing? I think, actually, no, who am I kidding? American politicians don't surprise me. I mean, there's a lot of things that they say that make me go, huh? But, you know, it's still pretty cool, especially because AOC, for short, she's pretty cool. And I think it's an ingenious way and, I guess, a very new age way of trying to connect with your audience. So, yeah, I don't know. I think as a Gen Y person, it feels very personal that politicians would make the effort to actually reach out to this generation using a platform that we are pretty obsessed with at the moment, which is Animal Crossing. So, fantastic. I think that's kudos to her for doing that. In terms of the month of March, with all this money spent on video games, 1.6 billion US dollars spent in the month of March on video games. Wow. That's a clap. I think that's probably got to be the most amount of money spent in one month since Zed Games even began. So that's extraordinary. And I sincerely hope that all those indie devs out there got a big piece of that pie, because it would mean the world to them. And it means the world to us here at Zed Games because we love supporting indie devs. Yeah, that's fantastic. A 275% increase in game sales. Boy, I haven't seen a number that large since I don't know, I was going to make a joke. It's not working. Let's just move on. Okay, cool. Cyberpunk 2077. The fan film, Phoenix Program. You've got, Jackie Chan's stunt team directing it. That's awesome. Actually, that should be posted on the Zed Games Facebook page at any moment. It will be popping up. So if you'd like to take a look at that, it only goes for a minute. So check it out because it looks freaking awesome. And I've watched it more than once. So if you'd like to look at that, there's also like a Keanu Reeves lookalike in it. And I'm not entirely sure if it is Keanu Reeves. I believe because there's a lot of cosplayers that it's not actually him. But yeah, take a look at that. Ah, boy, so much interesting stuff happening. Another piece of interesting news that also I would like to mention for any Halo fans out there. Halo 2, the remastered version, has just either dropped today or yesterday. I always get confused with dates because of things being dropped in the States that are, the day before, after us. I don't know where I am. Who knows anymore? I don't even know what day it is. But Halo 2 has dropped. And if you'd like to play that again and experience it in a high-definition quality, it is out on the Master Chief Collection on Steam. You can purchase it that way. You can purchase a whole Master Chief Collection, or you can just purchase the games individually. I'm not saying that to promote them, per se. I just really love Halo. I don't get paid to promote anything other than... no, I don't get paid. I'm just here. So if you'd like to subscribe to 4ZZZ to support your community radio, be sure to do that. We are now about to partake on a journey back in time to when I had a discussion with Rani earlier in the week about a game called Planet Zoo. And before we get straight into that discussion, I'll give you a little bit of context of what Planet Zoo is. It's a construction and management simulation game, which you may remember games like Zoo Tycoon. Same creators, same developers, so that's the Frontier Developments there. And it was released on the 5th of November in 2019. Is available on PC and Windows, and it was designed by Jim Stimpson and David Bamber. Let's have a listen to Rani and I's discussion earlier in the week on Planet Zoo. Rani and I are going to talk about Planet Zoo today. I know that you were super hyped about Planet Zoo.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it now?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was actually quite the disappointment. I still sort of enjoy it. Like, it's a gorgeous game. But I found it not very user-intuitive. And, I like games like this. Like, I love Sims, so I really enjoy that idea of, like, building things and organizing things and managing things. And I play a lot of games that just sort of require that level of mindfulness. But Planet Zoo made me really frustrated. And I think it's just because the controls themselves weren't intuitive to at least a PC user.
Yeah, I totally get that. When I was playing, I had the same sort of frustration with just moving around through, like, your landscapes.
Yeah, and that, when it tells you to scroll over to a certain area, like, oh, let's go visit this habitat, and you scroll out to find it, you should be able to double-click on the habitat to go to it. But
to sort of zoom in, yeah.
Yeah, and so every time that's what I would do, I'd be like, well, why isn't this working? And then you have to go all the way over, and you have to make sure that your camera is centered on it properly so that when you do zoom in, you're actually zooming in on it.
I found it really frustrating that it was sort of... it's a game that sort of requires a lot of different UI. Like, you need a lot of different things to access different parts because there's a lot of moving systems within the game. And it doesn't sort of consider, or at least in same with you, I guess, like in my opinion, your opinion is that it doesn't really consider what are the tools that you're most likely going to be using as the player, and that should be the easiest thing to sort of interact with and engage with, and it's not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is very difficult. And then when you're trying to sort of rotate the camera so you can get different angles, I found that very almost too fluid in the sense that you couldn't actually really control it. And then it'd clip weirdly, and all of a sudden you'd be under the ground looking up at something funny. And those sorts of things, I find those sorts of things very frustrating. But like I said, the graphics were pretty gorgeous, and it has a lot of information. But the thing that I found frustrating and made me close the game for the first time without actually playing as much as I wanted to do was actually at the end of the very first tutorial, when it tells you, oh, click on your passport, let's go to a different zoo.
Oh, yeah.
There's no icon for a passport. There's no, and it doesn't even show you, because throughout the tutorial, obviously, it sort of shows you where to click. And it doesn't show you anywhere to click, and I kept going back through that last direction, seeing if I had missed something, seeing if I was missing the direction that they were giving me, and I wasn't. And so what I did was I just closed the game because I couldn't be bothered. And then I went back later after I let my frustration subside, and I looked it up, and they were like, oh, yeah, no, you just have to go back to the main menu and click on the next tutorial. And that's kind of where I was like, that's not okay. Like, I very quickly stopped playing games that do things like that, where moving from one section, one chapter, if you want to say, of the game is not fluid, if it's not easily accessible. I like being able to click through and to go back to those parts if I want, so I appreciated the menu system. But the fact that I had to go out of the menu system, or out of the game, to the menu system to get to the next part of the game really frustrated me. I didn't bring it up. I actually had to do the same thing with Pester Quest when I played it, and I reviewed it a little while ago. It sort of did the same thing, and I kept worrying that I just hadn't completed something, or I was missing something, or I'd completely, failed, or something like that. It wasn't very forthcoming to me as a player.
It didn't send you the information you needed to know, basically.
Yeah.
What
I just...
With,
Oh, yeah, no.
what I was going to say was, what is Planet Zoo overall, though? Like, what is the main objective of the game? In your opinion, what were you playing it for?
I mean, it's the reason I went to play with it, and the sort of thing that drew me in was that idea of building a zoo and managing a zoo, and the, like, I guess, satisfaction you'd get from having a successful zoo and happy customers or whatever. That's why I wanted to play it, and I think that's really sort of the basis of the game. I didn't feel like I got to do that much especially with the tutorials, and I feel like if the tutorials are too hard to get through, then, I'm very rarely going to keep playing.
I mean, I think I've played Planet Zoo for a total of about 20 hours or something, not long after it came out, and I was super excited because previously the developers had actually made sort of like a Jurassic Park game. I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now, but it's essentially the same sort of thing, which is like a Jurassic Park. It's like a dinosaur park, and you get to monitor the habitats of each individual dinosaur, and you get to breed them in the long run and do this and purchase more and obviously run a zoo and an experience. And that's the same sort of principle with Planet Zoo. But I went with Planet Zoo because it was newer, and I also went with the mindset of whatever mistakes they've made in the past with the previous games of this category, this genre, they will have obviously worked out better ways of translating that information in their latest version or genre of this game, style of this game. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, Planet Zoo is the best option in terms of getting the best outcome as a player. I mean, it took me 12 hours to get through, I think it was most of the tutorial. It took me 12 hours. And I was like, oh boy, this is just so much information. There's so many tabs. It's like learning Unity. Like, I felt like I was learning a game engine.
And you also can't take the tutorial at your own pace. You can't fast forward through things. You can't pause it. You can't, because even if you pause the game, she'll keep going. She'll keep telling you about things. You're like, wait, no, I wanted to pause that. When I hit pause, I mean to pause the entire game. And that tutorial, there's so much, and I felt like I wasn't actually learning as much as they were trying to show me how to use all of the different systems in the game and how to pull up all the tabs and all of that. I actually don't think I retained any of it.
That's sad because I still haven't retained much of it either. And that's probably why I haven't gone back and played it as much as I would have liked. But in saying that, though, I really love, like, the animations are gorgeous, and it's so pleasant, and I did find myself sort of really enjoying my bonding time with some of the animals while I was during the tutorial. I liked that when you could actually start building your own zoo, I mean, aside from there being so many different ways to build, the fact that I had so many ways to build was very pleasing to me as well. Like, I could create a tunnel system or like a lagoon and exactly the way that I want with a certain type of terrain, and when the sun would hit, it was very specific. I could get super specific with what I wanted, and I enjoyed that agency as a player, to be able to do what I wanted, how I wanted it. It's just that learning curve is so steep.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. But that's where you're going to lose a lot of players as well, though, is just that issue of, like, if I can't make it through the tutorial, or the tutorial doesn't teach me what I need to learn, then why am I doing it? And I almost would have preferred it in the way that sort of The Sims puts you in. One, you get to choose whether or not you want them to walk through things. But two, when you encounter something new, it pops up with some information about it, and it's, you have the choice. You can read about it then if you want. And I think almost for a game that big, that's a really good way of going about it.
Yeah.
I do. I love the animations. I love the look of it, and initially that's what drew me in as well. It's just that it looked so gorgeous, and I love the amount of detail there is in the information. The content for the gameplay is spectacular. There is so much. and you're learning about these animals. There are animals that I didn't know, that their habitat would have needed this type of terrain or things like that.
It's exquisite, like the detail in terms of the needs of each animal, the miniature habitats, the the little mini ecosystems that you have to develop, the biome of that enclosure as well. It's pretty impressive. I mean, but overall, to sort of wrap things up a little bit, what would you suggest this game for anyone? What would you say about it overall? Because I'm okay with it.
I think I would still suggest it. I think it's still a good game. As much as I was disappointed and as much as it made me frustrated, I think it's still something I would be like, no, but trust me, push through it. Like, push through the tutorials and then, go off and do what you want. Yeah. And like any game, especially if you walk away from it for a little while, I will always have to look up the controls at some point.
Yeah.
And the internet is a wonderful thing, and you can have it open.
That's the thing. I spent a lot of time looking up tutorials. Anyway, I guess that overall, it's a game that you've got to have patience for, and if you've got the patience for it, once you get through there, it's worth your while. But for people like me who struggle with absorbing so much information, I guess it wasn't something that I would be likely to go back to. However,
no.
I want to get into it as much as I tried. So I hope that whoever ends up playing it out there, that they find enjoyment in it. At least the animation's stunning, and there's a lot to enjoy and to love about the game anyway. But yeah, thanks, Rani.
Thanks, Evie.
All right, let's catch you later. That there was a discussion I had with Rani earlier in the week about a game called Planet Zoo. If you liked what you heard, or if you'd like to check out some of that experience, please be sure to check out the Zed Games Facebook page where we post where our podcasts are if you tuned in and missed out on some of that discussion. Also, if you'd like to play Planet Zoo, it is available on Steam, so you can take a look at that. We are now about to partake in a very spooky experience because Millie has sent in a recording of her experience with a indie game by Modus Interactive called Siren Head. So, without further ado, let's hear what Millie got up to with this spooky experience.
It's Millie here from Zed Games, and I'm back with some good quality spooks for you. Siren Head has recently gained immense popularity due to multiple internet users including him in their creepypastas. However, he originated from a Canadian horror artist known as Trevor Henderson, who is known for creating bizarre and terrifying creatures. A game dev named Modus Interactive created the video game based on the Siren Head mythos with Henderson's permission back in 2018. This game was included in something that is very special to my heart called the Haunted PS1 Halloween Jam, which encouraged itch.io developers to create spooky, low-res horror games in the style of PS1 art. The game portrays you as a forest ranger who is searching for a missing hiker. It is your job to explore the woods, following large scratch marks in the earth and the bloody clues left behind by the hiker. Following the sound of an echoing emergency siren, the player eventually finds the mangled corpse of the hiker in a puddle of blood. Siren Head then appears behind the player, releasing various garbled emergency noises and slashing its long claws at the ground. You must escape before he grabs you. This is a pretty quick and dirty game, which I finished in about 10 minutes, which perfectly emulates the feeling of playing a PS1 in the early hours of the morning on your old CRT television and getting square eyes from being glued to your screen with fear and curiosity. It screams early PS1 horror games, and it takes so many art tips from games like Silent Hill and plastering them all over the scenery and Siren Head's scrawny body. It sends chills up your spine with the haunting wails of the sirens in the forest. I finished this game in about 10 minutes, and it's available for download on Modus Interactive's itch.io page for free on Windows and Mac. It's pretty easy to play. It's just using the WASD keys and I think E to search. It's very, very simple, but it gives you that really good creepypasta feeling, and that's what I love about it. Anyway, that's enough from me. I'll catch you guys around. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Millie, for that creepypasta insight on Siren Head. If you'd like to check out the game, it is up on the Zed Games Facebook page at ZedGamesAU. The link is up there now. It's developed by Modus Interactive, and as Millie said, it is totally free. So please be sure to check that out. Well, it's come to a pinnacle moment on Zed Games. A very pinnacle moment. A shifting, if you will, of time, because it has come to the end of Zed Games, and I hope you have enjoyed out there all the pleasant experiences that I have delivered to you today on the show. We had a discussion about Planet Zoo with Rani earlier, and that was a lot of fun. We also had a sort of a mini review and experience on a spooky game called Siren Head from Millie. If there is anything that you heard tonight that you'd like to hear again, there is a podcast of us that goes up. It's both on Spotify and on iTunes, and you can check that out by typing in Zed Games, Z-E-D Games, just for your information. My name is Evie, and it's always a pleasure to spend time talking to you guys out there. It's always a pleasure to deliver you the news each week, and it has been challenging to do this every week by myself in studio and to produce every week. It is a totally different time frame that I work with, because usually I have really, for the lack of a better word, let's go with interesting co-hosts that have a lot of energy. And their energy is fantastic, and their energy drives me and propels me through the show and propels me into the production mode every week. And every week has been a challenge because I haven't had them in here. And as I look around now in this room, I see empty chairs. And that's sad. But, you know, it's okay because I've still got my glass window where I can see Kate from Dykes on Mics here at 4ZZZ Studios. If you're listening on CRN or the podcast, this is a different time frame. We're working in a different world right now. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out, and I hope to see you guys again soon. And hopefully, if everyone stays home and stays safe and we keep washing our hands, we can have co-hosts in here with us again announcing. So that would be fantastic. Everyone, have a good night. We'll see you soon. Much love from Zed Games.
Thanks for listening to Zed Games. If you'd like to listen to more, check out our podcast on Spotify or follow us on social media at ZedGamesAU. See you next time.